I was accused of sexual assault 800 years ago, and only now is the truth starting to come out. As for the events, I will tell you what happened as accurately as possible in order to provide all the facts. My brother Henry has always been a favorite in the family. As a child, he never did anything wrong. When he had problems with school grades, our parents helped him raise them, and they always said that I should try to be like him. I was a little disappointed by this circumstance, but for the most part, I was silent and did not complain. I decided to go about my business on my own and enrolled in college in another city. 5 years later, I received an MBA degree and was able to get a job in my hometown. At that time, I only saw my family on their birthdays and on holidays. My brother was never the smartest in our family. He barely graduated from high school and started working in a small store that our parents helped him open. I was happy for him, but I was still living my own life. I also had a friend named Jenny. We met in college and moved in together when we graduated. After returning home, she also quickly found a job, and we began to build our lives together. During the holidays in 2006, I introduced her to her family. They were friendly and welcoming to her, and I felt more loved by them than before. Throughout the party, I noticed that my brother was looking at Jenny with interest, but did not pay attention to it. Then he started coming to my house too often. We saw each other once every 3 months, but now almost every day. I set boundaries and said he could drop by from time to time, but not every day. One evening, when Jenny and I were trying to relax after a hard day at work, my brother came unexpectedly. There was a quarrel with my parents, which ended with him apologizing and agreeing to come only once a month for the weekend. I was pleased with this decision. He tried to talk to Jenny, but it didn't go beyond talking, which was fine with me. This went on for a while, until in 2009, I asked her to marry me. My parents were happy for me, but my brother just shook my hand and left my party. After that, I didn't see him for about 2 weeks, and we got married in 2010. At that time, I noticed that my brother had a new girlfriend. I thought it would help him get over his feelings about Jenny and focus on his life. They also moved in together and almost got married 9 months later. However, their marriage did not work out as planned, and they separated in 2012. Just a few weeks after the divorce, Kate contacted me and told me that Henry was obsessed with Jenny, and this was the main reason for their separation. I told her I was sorry and wished her luck. Then Jenny told me that Kate had always been a little cold and distant with her from the very beginning. I decided to talk to my brother, and we met with him in front of the whole family. I asked him why his obsession with Jenny was ruining his life. He wasn't ready for such a question, so he lied to me about a lot of things. We had a big fight, and in the end I forgave him, but said he was no longer welcome at my house. Jenny, my parents and I talked to him and helped him. It all seemed like he was trying to change, and we continued our lives. In 2015, I still remember the day when everything changed. It was yesterday, July 25th, and I was busy with both of our children when my father called me after lunch. He was very angry and told me to come to their house. When I arrived, I felt very stressed. My wife was crying and my parents were trying to comfort her. Some of my cousins and uncle were present at the scene. When I asked what happened, my parents told me that they saw me with a girl at a party a few weeks ago, and then they heard that I told her not to tell anyone about it. My father was very angry. Amanda and I maintained friendly relations for a while, went to high school together. She was part of a large group of our friends, with whom we sometimes have fun. One day, after a party at the club, I followed her to her car. There she showed my wife the screenshots and told her the whole story. As a result, my father hit me hard, and my parents said they didn't want to see my face again. Jenny was furious and announced that we were breaking up. I asked her and all our friends to believe me and know that I didn't do it, but they didn't listen. As a result, I was kicked out of the house, and the children abandoned me. My father brought their belongings to my apartment, however. I begged him not to cut off contact with me, but all he did was collect several bags and forbade me to communicate with them. Otherwise, I would be handed over to the police. After that, when I received screenshots and all the information from the WhatsApp group of our extended family, I was expelled from the group by unanimous vote. Even my friends called me for several days in a row to tell me that they were disgusted to see me, and that they no longer wanted to talk to me. I was in a complete panic. I couldn't eat, sleep, or work properly. My boss heard about the rumors and said that, until he saw that the police were taking action, he couldn't do anything. As a result, He asked me to lead the company so that it would remain with a clean reputation, and said that he would make sure that I did not receive a notice of dismissal. I tried to object, but he replied that even if the police intervened, I would still be kicked out, and that my record would be ruined. I reluctantly agreed to his terms and left the organization a few days later. In mid-August, while I was still going through this situation, I received two documents from the court. One was a letter of disagreement, and the other was a statement of divorce. Although I was very drunk, I went to my parents' house, but when my brother saw me, he attacked me and said he was glad I was kicked out of the family. I got hit and my blood was pouring from my face, but my parents and wife just stood there and watched. They didn't do anything. Even when I was able to get up, I was crippled and realized that I had lost everything, and everyone I knew had left my life. While the divorce was going on, I was forced to leave my room. It was cruel, but it worked. I did not receive alimony because I did not have a job, and my parents said they would pay for the child until January 2016. I was no longer married, but it was hard to accept. I was trying to build my life from scratch. But I realized that in my country, the laws lean in favor of women. It only took me one phone call to go to prison for 5 to 6 years. So I decided not to contact Amanda and not make my situation worse. In February 2016, I had a serious accident and spent 5 weeks in the hospital. After that, when the ambulance workers called my number, it was Jenny. But she hung up and no one came. I realized that I had spent a lot of money and I needed to get back on my feet. At least to have a roof over my head. I sold all the furniture to pay for the remaining rent, and decided to start over in another city, not far from here. I first found a temporary job, but quickly realized that I couldn't continue living like this. I often drank and thought about killing myself. I had a terrible dream and woke up in a cold sweat. It lasted for months. Then I happened to meet my old college friend, James. He offered me a job at his management consulting firm, and I accepted. I went to him, met with his team and discussed my options. 2 days later we started working together and I felt useful again. At the end of May, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, I heard a voice crying and said, "Hi, this is Amanda." I know. This voice immediately ended the conversation. I was upset because Kim was next to me and she saw how sad I looked. She came over to help. And I tried to hold back tears and anger when I told her who it was. When the phone rang again, Kim picked it up and put it on speaker. From that end of the conversation, a male voice called out, who introduced himself as Man, Amanda's fiancé, and asked her to apologize for what she said before he hung up. Amanda kept apologizing over and over until she stopped crying. Kim suggested that they call back later, after which she contacted Derek, who listened to her story. After long conversations, we decided to schedule an appointment with a lawyer to help deal with the possible consequences. I called my lawyer and told him what had happened. He agreed to arrange a meeting at his office and set a date. One day I called Amanda and asked her to come to the lawyer's office to discuss the situation. We met at the lawyer's office for 3 days. After the meeting, Amanda seemed completely exhausted, and her boyfriend was by her side. My lawyer arranged for the entire meeting to be videotaped in the conference room. We took opposite sides of the room, and Kim began to talk about what had happened. A lot was said, but the main idea was that in 2015, she met with my brother, and no one knew that it was an artfully planned plan. She agreed to do so because of her love for him, and willingness to do anything for him. My brother stole my profile picture from my WhatsApp number, and they used it in fake messages with Amanda. What surprised me was that Kim was angry and upset not only because of this lie, but also because she was pregnant and broke off the relationship with me. My lawyer suggested a 30-minute break, after which we had to meet with Amanda and then again. Kim hugged me after our meeting and told me that I should trust my intuition, and that she was feeling much better now. I was relieved too, because Kim was always there to help me. I also discussed what happened with my therapist, who said that it might take me some time to talk to my former family and recover from this experience. In July, I decided to talk to Amanda and explain to her what she had to do. I warned her that if she didn't agree, I would have to go to court. She realized that she would have to do what I suggested in order not to lose money.